Welcome to Dead Men Talking Podcast, a show for people who think they're going to live forever eating McDonald's. And now your hosts, Frank and Bill.
That's right, Frank. Another exciting episode today.
Yeah, and I'm not looking forward to this one, I'm going to be honest with you.
What do you mean?
Well, I've been watching you drink these elixirs, potions, and powders for the last 4 years, and they are disgusting.
What do you mean? They're
They
wonderful.
don't smell good. They don't look good. But today you have me testing them out as we talk about supplements.
That's right, Frank. I was going to say we're going to try some, but when I say we, I mean you.
Yeah, and I kind of figured that, especially when I see a big bottle of Hustle Drops in front of me. I don't even know what Hustle Drops are, but it apparently makes you run fast.
Well, supplements are an interesting thing, and there's a lot to learn about them, and they're very confusing, and we're going to talk about them today. But yes, you have some Hustle Drops in front of you, Frank.
Yeah, well, we'll get to those, but we'll talk about supplements. We went from nutrition, so we've gotten everywhere from you being in a hospital bed to breathing, to meditating, to diet. So we talked about diet, and if I'm eating a great diet, and now we're talking about supplements, but if I'm doing one, why do I need the other?
It's a great question. And the truth is, you really don't. You don't need supplements. So this is the shortest episode we're ever going to do. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week.
Great, we're out of here. See you.
So the truth is that you don't need supplements if you are eating a great diet. If you are eating whole foods, 3 to 4 servings of quality vegetables, organics every day, if you're eating fruits every day, if you're eating if you're getting proteins from a good quality, clean sources, if you're eating a good whole food diet every day, you really don't need supplements.
Well, wait a minute. So I've heard, health class when I was younger, food groups,
right.
Dairy, meats, vegetables, fruits. All right, so we have those, but then I read books that say, no, 2 of those are bad for you. They'll give you cancer. Then I've read books that says, plant-based diets. So
right.
What is a balanced diet? What is a real balanced diet?
Well, and that is a huge topic, which is a mouthful, but there's all kinds of data out there, and there's all kinds of opinions from doctors and nutritionists that they all don't line up. For me, I'm always thinking about what to do to make my entire body as strong as possible to fight cancer. And that's really what we're talking about, because the average person, when you talk about nutrition, they're thinking about their weight. And we've talked about this before. They're thinking, how do I look? Do I fit in my clothes? Have I lost weight? But what we're talking about is really getting proper nutrition and supplementation so that your body is as strong as possible to fight disease or a chronic illness. And it's a different methodology and a different goal.
So since this show's called Dead Men Talking, which is me and you, and not Dead Hipster Talking, so let's just talk about what you do and what your opinions are and what's kept you alive, and try to give our listeners some really good information that they could take home with them.
Right, and that's always the goal. So, for me, like I said, I learned that food was the most important thing. Many cultures and many healers around the world view food as medicine. So once I got that in my brain, and they said, you really just need to learn to eat the right things. But then what I learned was that the way we grow food today and process food, it isn't as nutritious as it was, say, 100 years ago, because of the soil and the chemicals that we use and pollution and all that stuff. So even when you're eating a good diet, there are things that you can become deficient in, nutrients, that you don't get because the food isn't the same. And you're not always eating the same every day. Not every day are we all able to get all the proper nutrients from our diet, from vegetables and fruits and meats, etc. So there is a need for supplementation to make sure you don't have any gaps, particularly with a chronic illness.
So let me ask you, because I've seen this organic, I drink a lot of celery juice in the morning. So I got the organic celery in the thing, and I got regular celery. Now, I'm 46 years old, so I've been eating regular celery all my life, and right. I'm still alive. All right. So, but it's double the price, the organic celery. Do you really need to buy organic products?
Yes.
Okay.
It really is true. And so you just said something that's really true, and it's a conversation I get in all the time. And I've got friends that say, oh, I've lived to be 40 and it's not been a problem, or I've lived to be 50 or whatever, and it's not a problem. You're right that our body is amazing. It can produce, it can process a lot of crap and get it out of our bodies and keep us healthy. It's true. But for many of us, 1 out of 2 men that get cancer, do you want to take the risk? And most of us say, yeah, I like eating this crappy stuff. It tastes delicious. And then all of a sudden one day, like me, our body says, that's enough. And all of a sudden we have a chronic illness. So all we're trying to do is let people know that if you want to avoid a chronic illness, try to do things that are better for you. And so the way I look at supplementation is, if you're an average American or an average person anywhere in the world, and you're not getting all the good things in your diet, and you don't want to have a chronic illness, then try supplementing something that you might think you're deficient in based on what it is you're eating. And that's where I started.
Okay, so I walked in the vitamin shop getting ready for this episode, and I walked in the supplement aisle. Holy crap.
Exactly.
Everything from unicorn tears to elf's bane. You know, I thought I was in a witch's cabinet. So
right.
tell me where you begin. Like, you got out of the hospital, you're eating better. Where did supplementation start?
Well, and that, I went through the craziest exercise, just like you did. I started buying stuff, and people, I'm reading articles, and I'm like, holy crap, how do I make heads or tails of this? So then I learned that 80% of what you get on Amazon is worthless, isn't even what it says it is. And it started to piss me off, because I'm thinking, where's the FDA? Don't we have a Food and Drug Administration? That's a government organization that's supposed to check stuff that we put in our bodies to tell us this is good, or this is bad, or this is what it says it is. They don't touch a single supplement. The Food and Drug Administration does not check one supplement anywhere on the planet. And it just makes me crazy. And they'll give you the reason why. They say, oh, we can't do it. Well, wait a minute. You do it for drugs and food, right? Well, why don't you do it for the supplements? These are foods. I have my own belief as to why that is. I think it has to do with money. And you think about it, we can never fully test the Food and Drug Administration supplements, so they can never tell you, is it what it is, and does it do wonderful things? So we have to find people that we trust, Frank, and that's hard. Is it GNC? Is it, Billy Bob's, snake oil potion from, Wisconsin that, some guy took? How do you know?
I took that one time. I went blind for 3 days. I bought it from a cab driver in Wisconsin.
Right. Who made these hustle drops that you're going to take? I mean, so that was the hardest thing. And as I began studying it, when I came out of the hospital, I just started eating stuff that I was reading that was good for cancer patients. And over the next 3-4 years, I began weeding some out and adding some in. And some of it I was doing for energy. Some of it, there were clinical papers written where people had benefits from, say, mushrooms, which I want to talk a little bit about, or vitamin supplements, whatever it is. So I began learning about that, but then it was the question, is it good? Is it what it says it is? And I got really deep down the rabbit hole and started looking at companies that they knew where they sourced plants, what part of the world, are their chemicals treated? And these people would literally go to these parts of the world and watch how they're harvested, watched how they're grown, how they're put together. Are there any chemicals that are used that shouldn't be used because that negatively impacts how our body processes it? All of that. And it got pretty crazy. And so I began to weed out stuff that I didn't know or didn't trust. And I began to buy products from name brand companies that I do trust. And that was the biggest thing, is, do I trust this company and these people with this product I'm buying? That was the first thing. And so I've gotten to a group of companies that I trust. Then it becomes, does the supplement work? For example, if one of the supplements that my traditional Chinese medicine herbalist, turned me on to, some mushrooms, and some ginseng was one of the ones. And so he recommended some specifically from China, and he told me the brand name. Now, would I have normally trusted it from China and an unknown, communist country that there's no testing and the FDA doesn't approve? No, I wouldn't have. But because of a doctor recommended it, I decided to use that brand, and that gives me energy. Ginseng does. So
let me ask you. So going back just a little bit before we go into like brands and stuff. So just the supplement and which supplements to look at in your particular case. Let's talk cancer for a second and just say, what supplements are you taking and why?
Okay, so one of the first ones that I was reading about, I had never heard about, it's a product called B17. I didn't even know the B vitamins had a 17. It's also called Laetril, and it's derived from a Hunza nut, which is it's an apricot seed. And the story goes that there's a group of people in Pakistan on mountains, and they're farmers and they're apricot farmers, and they chew on the seeds of apricots. And it's hard to get to. You have to crack them open, but that's what they do. They're farmers. And they have no incidence of cancer. They can live to be 100 years old and they have no cancer. And a lot of medical practitioners believe that it's what's inside this nut. And it's been given a name of designation of B17. So when I first learned this, I bought these nuts, and you have to eat 40 or 50 of these seeds every day to get the efficacy you need. Frank, they're the most god-awful, nasty tasting things. They're so bitter. They're just terrible. And I did it for a month or so, and I told my wife, I said, I can't do this every day. It's terrible. I mean,
50 a day? How big are they?
They're just these tiny little nuts, but they're nasty.
You got to suck on them? Or
you got to chew them, and they're just terrible. So while I wanted this vitamin in me, and I believed from everything I read that this could be beneficial to me, I just couldn't get into them. And then I found a company that took these nuts and got the component of the center of the seed out and put it into a pressed tablet. So now I just take one of these every day. And there's always debate in supplements. You'll find doctors and medical practitioners that'll say, "Oh, there's no evidence. There's no evidence." Or there's no triple blind study. Of course there's not. What company is going to pay $200 million for a triple blind pharmaceutical study for a nut that anybody could get off a tree for, $15? There's no money in it. So that's why you'll never see those levels of test for supplementation. They're too cheap. So that's why you have to do testing and your own research and find companies that you trust.
Yeah, I guess you can't patent the apricot nut.
You can't. That's why the pharmaceutical companies, they're typically not going after it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No
so you got B17. What else are we talking?
Well, mushrooms are a big one. They were
magic
mushrooms, not the ones that make your head, not the ones that make your head go crazy. But there's a whole group of mushrooms, and they can help with everything from sleep and anxiety and depression and focus. And mushrooms have been used in the Asian healing arts for thousands of years. And I thought, they've got a head start on the Western world. What are they doing? And so I began reading about mushrooms, and I started taking early on lion's mane, which was one of them. And the one I'm on now, there's chaga. We know reishi mushrooms. We know the white mushrooms that we buy. All mushrooms are good for us. They really are. So,
what makes them good for us?
Well, just the components that are in mushrooms. For some reason, they have all these health benefits. Benefits for anti-aging, inflammation, lowering your LDL cholesterol, depending on what type of mushrooms. Chaga mushrooms do that. But I have gone to the turkey tail because there are a lot of studies that turkey tail is very good for cancer patients, and particularly blood cancers. And so that's where I'm at right now, although my herbalist also has me on a mix of mushrooms for inflammation, and he's found to be good for cancer patients.
Are they just ground up in a pill, or are...
Yes, I take 2 pills every day of the turkey tail, and then he mixes this in this herbal packet. I take, that's all a group of herbs that this Chinese herbalist believes is very healthy and helpful for me. And he actually mixes them up on site, and I get packaged from him every month, and I take it's a mix of a variety of things that I'll have to get the whole list from him, but it's a mix of herbs and mushrooms, just part of all that.
I took mushrooms in college once, and it made me 4 inches tall, and I ran with ants.
And trees began to talk to you.
No, but for real, it was in the middle of Ohio State, and my buddy got attacked by ducks.
This ought to be a good story. He got attacked by ducks.
Yeah, he was laying in the mud beside the pond, and I think they were geese more than likely. But he started getting bit by the geese.
Different mushrooms, Frank.
Oh, not same.
Not the same. Not the same. Not the same.
Okay.
Yeah, and one thing for all the listeners out there, do not go grab mushrooms off the ground and just pop them in your mouth. That's not a good idea.
Depends what state you're in. No, I'm joking. You got the different types. So the lion's mane ones that you were taking, are you eating those, or are you taking them as a supplement?
Yeah, I take them as a supplement form, but I do put mushrooms in my salads, and I mix them in, dishes that I eat or whatever. I try to add mushrooms as much as possible, both from a dietary standpoint as well as supplementation. And, you asked a good question earlier. How do you know? One of the things that I would recommend in our industry, in the flooring industry, we have third-party certifications to validate what we're saying, and is it truthful in the manufacturing process. There are companies that certify that you're getting what they say you are. There is an Nsf certification for supplements. There's a variety of them. There's actually a company called MSC that certifies fish oils, as an example. Just, you're getting fish oil. It is what it says. It's oil from fish, but is it good fish oil? Is it, because fish oil can go rancid.
Well, that's what I learned the other day, talking about oils. Half the olive oil on the shelves at the store everybody tells you is great for you is rancid olive oil or comes from multiple different farms. And that's worse for you than not drinking anything at all.
Yes, we're going to have to do an entire show just on oils, because it's insane what I've learned about oils. But so you to that point, you really need to know and trust where you're getting these supplements.
Well, is there a good website or a good source that you could go? Like, say if I wanted to buy olive oil, now I'm all freaked out. I don't even want to use my Bertolini's or whatever I got in the house in the green bottle that I've had for years, probably.
Well, and that's true. I just started studying this as well, that there are a couple olive oils that are significantly better for cancer patients and to help with inflammation. I was just reading about this last week, so I've got something up on my home computer to dig into it and study and start buying the right olive oil, because I'm the same. I know olive oil is great for us, but now I'm starting to learn, hey, they're not all the same. It's all over the map.
Well, I learned that too, and then I was reading that book Blue Zones that you gave me, and one of the Sardinia is one of the blue zones where it has the most centurions alive that are actually walking around and living great lives, and they put a lot on that in the wine and olive oils I drink.
Yes, that's right. And it's centenarians. Centurions were the guys in the Roman. They might slash your head.
See, that's why I need you, and that's why we have two people on the show, because I'll make up stuff. I will.
That's the best. Well, yeah. One of the things that when we're trying to find out what's actual, it's still, like I said earlier, because the Food and Drug Administration doesn't verify that supplements contain what they say they do, or whether they're contaminated with heavy metals, bacteria, or pesticides before they're sold, third-party groups have emerged and taken over that role. The FDA should be doing this, and I'm going to be pushing for them to do this. But in absence of them doing their job, consumerlab.com has emerged, NSF International, and the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, USP. They're all nonprofit organizations, or USP is a nonprofit organization that sets what CR experts say are the most widely accepted standards for supplements. And so that's one of the first places to start. Don't just go on Amazon and say, hey, that looks good and I like the price. It is, if it's worthless and you're spending $15 versus $30 for some supplements, get the $30 ones that actually do something for you. Don't waste $15 on something that isn't certified. And you don't know.
So we'll put those websites in the comment section, because that's good information, because I didn't even know that. And I have a cabinet full of supplements.
Oh, yeah. And I've had thousands of dollars of supplements over the last 4 years that I've tried. And I don't buy some of them anymore because they could be good, but they're not third-party certified. They haven't come from a company that I've determined is good. And I don't have recommendations from anybody from them. So if they get into that category, I just dump them and I'm using something else now.
Well, so let me ask you. So we talked about nutrition on the last episode, and you get a lot of your nutrients from that. But when you take it in a pill form, I've read some things that sometimes when you're taking 100 milligrams of vitamin C in a pill, it's not the same as eating an apple.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so some things are sublingual, where you put under your tongue and they dissolve better. I used to take a vitamin C tablet when I first came out of the hospital. I was vitamin C, because vitamin C, there's hundreds of thousands of studies on PubMed, on their government website. And as I was reading that, I've talked to integrative doctors and they say, well, it's not proven. I'm like, good gracious. I mean, how much evidence do you need when there's hundreds of thousands of studies over the last 50 years that say vitamin C is really great for us? It boosts our immune system, and there are high doses of vitamin C are actually as effective as certain chemos. So I actually do a couple times a month, I do a high dose vitamin C intravenously because it's so good. But I've learned that now when I'm taking vitamin C at home, I take a liquid form and I take it in my mouth, because they say you get much more absorption that way rather than a pill through your stomach.
So what about, when I was sick, I was always given orange juice.
Yep.
I mean, is orange juice a good source for that?
If it's good quality orange juice, yes, sure it is. The problem with orange juice is typically there's so much sugar added to them that if it's not fresh squeezed or natural, and even natural orange juice has a lot of sugar in it, but the ones that we buy at the grocery store, they add a lot of sugar to those concentrated ones. So I don't drink that anymore. I drink fresh squeezed if I'm doing it.
I got you. So you went through mushrooms, B17. I know I've seen your cabinet. I know what there's got to be more in Bill's daily regimen.
There is, and I have watched some doctors and some PhDs that have studied vitamins in general, and on one hand, I'll hear a doctor say, "Oh, there's no evidence that vitamins help us," and then on another side, I've seen doctors that have studied that. That's all they do is they study vitamins. And there's some people that believe vitamin supplementation is the greatest thing on the planet for your health. Now, I don't know. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But because of everything I've read, I do take a daily vitamin to make sure that I'm not missing any nutrients. So I do take a multivitamin, but there's a bunch of crappy multivitamins out there. I mean, really bad stuff. So I've worked down, and I'll list everything I take for everybody just so they see. And we'll do a show where I walk through literally everything I do in a day. We'll call that the day in the life of Bill, and we'll go through everything I eat, drink, supplementation, and how I do that. But, in the mornings, I have a pill pack. I feel like, an 80-year-old guy with my meds, but it's all supplements.
It says Monday through Sunday?
Yep. I've got, and every Sunday night, I do up all my supplements and put them in the cases, and I've got my herbal supplements. And so when I start my day Monday morning, I just grab them and I eat them throughout the day. And yes, B17, there's a multivitamin. I take something called CoQ10 for your heart. I don't know that this would be recommended for every cancer patient or every person, but I do it because one of the drugs, the chemo drugs that they give me from time to time, can be hard on your heart. So I'm like, okay, I better do something for my heart, and I add CoQ10 to my regimen because it's good for your heart.
What's CoQ10 in, like, naturally?
I can't even remember what it's in, but it is in food. All of these vitamins and minerals are in foods naturally. It's just we don't always get enough. So I'm not even sure where CoQ10 comes from. As I was reading all the studies, and I found there's another one I should probably buy. It's just so wicked expensive every month that I'm using the next best one, but it's just good for my heart. And then I take some enzymes and I take B vitamins, and really all I'm trying to do is make sure that I don't have any deficiency. And a lot of times doctors will say most of the time when you're taking vitamins, you pee it out and you can see this bright yellow pee. Mm-hmm. And that's true. You are peeing out vitamins. But if you don't have them in your system and your pee is white, that means you're not peeing out vitamins, but it may mean that maybe you could use some vitamins. Maybe your body is starved for some enzyme or some amino acid or some B vitamin. And as a chronically ill patient, I don't want to be deficient in anything ever, any day. That's kind of my philosophy at this point about it.
See, I like sugar a lot, so when I eat a ton of sugar or cakes, my pee looks like a lightsaber. It's that brilliant.
Krispy Kreme pee.
So it's not just nutrients. It could be a Krispy Kreme.
Who doesn't love Krispy Kreme?
I didn't bring him this morning. Did you notice?
Thank you, and I appreciate not being tempted by a pile of sugar.
I thought it was ironic that I would try to take you down the sugar road when we're trying to talk about staying healthy from cancer.
Thanks, my buddy Frank's trying to kill me here. It's hard enough to withstand not eating sugar. I don't need extra temptations.
Well, let me ask you this one. So I saw this the other day. Cinnamon. You know how good cinnamon is for you. But only one type of cinnamon. There's two different types of cinnamon. If one doesn't have this one ingredient in it, then it can actually be bad for you. Have you ever heard this?
Well, I've definitely heard there are different types of cinnamon, and I have purchased a variety of types, but I have not heard this.
It starts with an S. I'll have it on the next time we talk about it.
Is it the Saigon, or it's I can't remember.
Laya or something. It's something like that. I'll look it up next time because we got to talk about that, because I was like, let's just put it this way. The cinnamon that's in your spice drawer is the bad one. That's all I learned.
You're listening to Dead Men Talking.
You are listening to the Dead Men Talking podcast, brought to you by Helix Lifestyle. Helix Lifestyle is a philanthropic company discussing the healing process through research and clinical success. If you know someone who has cancer or whose life is impacted by chronic illness, please share this podcast with them. Thanks for listening.
Well, I eat cinnamon regularly, so I want to double check. Now I know.
Well, look it up, because the one in your spice drawer, if that's the one you're using, it's not the right one.
It's probably bad.
Yeah.
And I definitely get an organic, and I'll have to look at it, which one I'm using right now, because I've changed. But I'll have to double check that. And, this is the great conversation, because this is what people ask me about, and this is what people struggle with. Because the FDA doesn't test anything, nobody knows what's real and what's good. We don't know.
Well, that's why I needed the meditation episode, because all this stuff is mind-blowingly confusing.
It is.
It is. It contradicts itself page by page.
It does.
And so that's why I think I'm glad we're talking about this, because actually we plan for these podcasts, but talking through this is just opening my eyes and blowing me away, because I bet you half the drawer I have at home is garbage.
Well, and it probably is. It probably is, but some of them are probably great as well. We're always looking for new supplementation and new ideas. Your wife texted me with one she found, the heavy metal removal with advanced TRS.
That's because she just hates my music. She wants it out of the house.
Heavy metal removal?
She's like, get the AC/DC gone.
Well, and she sent this thing, and I'm looking at this, and I want to try it.
What's it called again?
It's advanced TRS. And I'm probably going to...
Does it say what TRS stands for?
Well, it's a detoxifier. It's not a supplement as we're talking about in terms of adding nutrients to our body, but it's a detox, and it's talking about getting lead and arsenic and heavy metals out of our body. And this is a huge thing. One of my alternative doctors, that's all he does. Now, he does it with other chelators. Chelators are things that, will strip out and detoxify your body. And there's natural chelators. And he actually does IV chelation, and it's it takes time, and you got to have an IV to pull this stuff out. And getting heavy metals out of your body is really hard. So when I was reading this and learning about this supplement, and it talks about heavy metal exposure, which I'm very well aware of. It talks about our detoxification systems. That's great. I need to dig in and determine, is this a good company? Is it real? Is it going to do what it says it can? What's the mechanism of action? And so I want to get into it.
Have we ever figured out what heavy metals do to somebody's body? I know they're poisonous.
They are. Well,
but why?
If you look, you can go to the EPA and they'll say, this is one of the, I don't want to touch this today, but some of the debate that freaks people out is that the EPA, and it will say that, for example, aluminum can kill you. Just like nuclear bomb, why is that bad? Radiation, why is that bad? Well, because if you have plutonium, it's bad. If you have any metal, lead, in your body, that's why they don't put lead in paints anymore, because kids would eat them and the lead was bad. It's toxic to our system. Mercury is toxic. You remember as a kid, we used to get the mercury thermometers and we used to roll the mercury around in our hand. Oh, Lordy, that is awful for us. I mean, that stuff goes into your body and it can literally kill you. It's toxic.
Didn't they used to make your fillings in your out of mercury?
Yes, and that's, I took a fortune worth of metal fillings in my mouth out because there's mercury in them. They were leaching into my body. Some doctors believe that's one of the reasons why I got cancer, is that there was mercury leaching in my body my whole life. Now the dentists are like, no, it can't be that. And it's like, what do you mean it can't be that? I got mercury in my mouth.
Dentist. Let's go back up to Maryland.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to talk to you. He's probably 90.
But right. So, but anyway, the point is that, your wife found this supplement that could be fantastic. It could be worthless. I don't know, but I'd like to try it and research and find out more.
Well, it's funny because I'm doing a heavy metal detox smoothie every morning, which is cilantro, mango, blueberries, the green powder, the fast blast that we use, the douche, which I found out is a seaweed, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
It's a ground up seaweed, the douche.
The douche.
I just think saying that. And so, as I said, the cilantro. So you blend all that up, and that's supposed to detox your liver. So the heavy metals, everything that I read keeps going back to the liver detoxification and the kidneys. Yeah. So is that where stuff is stored, or is it just comes back through your blood, or? Well,
your kidneys are used to strip your body of the bad stuff. So the more bad stuff you have, the harder your kidney works, and that's why we've got to cleanse our kidney, because it's doing the work of our body. The more bad stuff you put in, the harder it works. That's why sometimes when people do too many supplements, this is a great topic, Frank, because when you're taking tons of supplements, it puts more pressure on your kidney. So for someone like me, I've got to be extra careful. If I take too many supplements and don't get enough water to help flush my system, or I'm not detoxifying my kidney enough, it can cause a problem.
Yeah.
It can be an issue. Now, before we go any further, these hustle drops are sitting there, Frank, and they're staring at you and they're calling your name.
All right. Well, tell me, because let me read the ingredients here. Menthol. So you gave me cigarettes. That's awesome. Spearmint, wintergreen leaf oil. Oh, man. And fruit extract. So, and what is that? I can't even. That is different, Bill. So it's telling me to take a full dropper, which is a pretty big dropper.
Yeah, it's a big dropper.
Wow, it is potent smelling already. It is quite pungent.
And it's all natural.
That's a lot. All right. And I got to put this on my tongue?
You got to squeeze it on your tongue.
Under my tongue?
No, you can just put it on your tongue. Just swallow it down quickly and then take a big, deep breath.
So on the top of my tongue, because under the tongue's going to burn like hell.
No, just swallow it, get it down, swallow it, and take a deep breath.
God, if I had $1 for every time somebody told me that.
Here he goes. Swallow. Now take a deep breath.
Now, Bill, you see, I used to smoke for years. And,
how does that feel? What are you feeling?
I felt like I just drank a shot of Rumpelmintz. You don't even catch.
Your face looks exactly like my face when I tried it.
This is awful.
He is squinting. He's in pain. He's almost tearing up, folks. That's exactly what I looked like when I tried it.
Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible.
So, and you're probably wondering, why am I doing this? So it says Hustle Drop Sport Performance Drops. So, well, I can smell you from on the other side of the table, Frank.
Oh, I'm fresh.
That makes you minty fresh, your breath.
Dude. What did that do for me?
That's the question. What did it do for you? I got these to try because they say they give your body a huge burst of oxygen. Now,
is that what I'm feeling? It doesn't feel like I'm breathing a lot. I'm exhaling a lot.
Yeah, so I don't know if this works. The idea is that intense feeling that we get when we do those, apparently the big breath pumps oxygen into your body naturally, more oxygen. And oxygen is fantastic for us generally, but it's also really great for cancer patients. So I've tried a variety of supplements to help oxygenate my body. That's one of the reasons, people run and do exercise when they have cancer or just to be healthy. It gets oxygen into our bodies, which is great for us. This is supposed to do it with basically a natural product.
Well, I mean, I definitely feel energized. I feel nauseous, but energized.
Well, and I've tried a couple different things. Beets will oxygenate your blood. And there's, you can get natural beet juice or beet juice supplements. There was one that I got. I tried this stuff called Neo 40, which was a nitric oxide supplement, supposedly oxygenate your body.
How'd that work for you?
I did them. I thought it was good. I don't know that I felt. You breathing heavy there, Frank?
My nose is running.
I know it did the same thing for me when I tried it. It was crazy. And then there was another one I tried after Neo 40 because pumping oxygen into your body is great. I tried another one. Oh my gosh, I've got it here somewhere that I tried, which is basically did a similar thing. It oxygenates your body. And I'm trying to find the name. I'll find the name of that one that I tried too. And some of these things are really expensive. Just an example of where I learned about one supplement. There was a guy, I think it was in 96, that won the Nobel Prize. And he determined that nitric oxide, he won the Nobel Prize for this, that nitric oxide could clear blockages for people that had heart issues. People have to put stents in their body and have surgery done because when their veins and arteries get clogged up and get too much plaque in their veins. And so this guy, I was listening to his story. He was just a business guy, and he was supposed to have open heart surgery, but he was so blocked that they wouldn't do the surgery. They're like, there's no way. And he'd been to doctors all over the country, and they're like, no, no, no. And he learns about this supplement. And he reads about the guy that won the Nobel Prize, that nitric oxide would clear it. And when he read this, he was flipping out. I watched an interview with him. He said, I am freaking out. I've been all over the country to find a doctor that will do heart surgery because I'm so blocked up. And I read that in 96, they determined that there was a natural product, nitric oxide, that you could get from beets and other things that would clear these naturally. And so he goes to a doctor and he says, I'm reading this. And the doc says, well, I don't believe it, but okay, I'll see you. The guy takes the supplement for 6 months and he comes back and he's completely clear and doesn't need the surgery. And the doctor is beside himself. So he determines, I'm going to go create a supplement that does this rather than the way I had to do it. So that's how he built a supplement. He built it for himself, and now he's selling it for people based on what he learned from a Nobel Prize winner.
Well, you know what's so cool about this is that there's probably 1 million people out there that need to thank me right now. Because I sold nitrous oxide balloons at Grateful Dead shows through college.
That's nitrous. Little different.
Not the same?
Not the same. Not
Whippets
the same.
are not the same.
Not the same.
That is you lost me. You lost me completely.
Little different, Frank.
All right, explain.
Not nitrous. Nitric.
Is it nitric oxide?
Eating a beet
nitrous
is
oxide?
not the same. No, it's different.
All right. If you say so.
This is how people get confused. This is how the guy ends up, drinking tequila shots because he thought it was good for him. He heard something about agave. Next thing you know, he's drunk on a corner.
That's been me too. That's how I got in the nitrous business.
I see how this works. Partial information, not good.
Well, look, we've gone over supplements. We're running out of time. If we had 3 things for our listeners to take away from today's episode, what would they be?
So I would say, first off, check your supplements. Try to get third-party certified. Try to buy from companies that are third-party certified of your supplements. So start there. Know that you're getting a good quality supplement, number one. Before that, it starts with your diet. So be eating the best diet possible. But when you're not, think about where you're deficient and then supplement with that. If you have a chronic illness like cancer, then you need to be using supplements specifically for cancer and your type of cancer, be it mushrooms, B17, general vitamins, anything to help make sure that you're not deficient in some area of nutrients. And then I think when it comes to looking at supplementation, you don't need to buy everything. Think just a handful of things that may fill out what your mission. I see people that are taking 80 different supplements and they don't have a chronic illness. They're just trying to be healthy. I would say start with the food, limit the supplements. If you want to add protein or whatever, that's always protein can be a good supplement, but you don't need as much unless you're an Olympic lifter. You don't need the amount. I see guys that may lift 3 days a week and they're pounding protein. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not a bodybuilder. If you're bodybuilding, I get it, different. But if you're the average person, you don't need tons of protein.
It actually be bad for you. It actually hurt me. It started to hurt my kidney function.
Well, and that's right, because again, your kidneys are cleaning out, and when you're too much supplementation can be bad for you. So don't overdo it. Just do what is right for you, and definitely check and make sure you're buying third-party certified.
And the last part of that is everything that we talked about on today's episode, no matter what the supplement is, check with your doctor first. It's different for everybody. What works for Bill doesn't work for everybody. And so make sure that you're not allergic to something. Like I almost gave my wife bee venom the other day. She's allergic to bees.
That would have been bad.
Yeah, and I didn't have an EpiPen.
That would have been bad.
Yeah, and she's 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. So there was one other vitamin that I did want to mention to everybody that I'm taking in. It's vitamin D. Now, vitamin D you can get from the sun. So, for your immune function, all of this stuff we're doing to build up our immune system. I've said this before, but most people have 3 to 6 cancers in their life. Their immune system stops it. We all need to be doing everything we can to make sure our immune system is strong. And that's what all this is about. That's what good exercise is, which is going to be what we're going to talk about on our next show.
That was a nice segue.
See that? We're going to talk about
beautiful.
Exercise and sleep. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to build up our immune system. So supplements are just part of that. And I take vitamin D and K together. It's actually vitamin D2 and K. And I take them together, but I also try to get as much sunshine as I can. I try to be outside. And if it's a nice day, I try not to wear a hat and let sun get on me, because it is really great for our immune system.
Oh, that's great to know. So our next episode is exercise and sleep.
Huge topic. Exercise is great for everybody, no matter who you are. And it's really important for cancer patients.
Well, this has been really great, and I know we're out of time, so until next time, I'm Frank.
And I'm Bill.
And we are Dead Men Talking.
This has been Dead Men Talking. Tune in to our next episode for more of Frank and Bill.
By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others, including but not limited to patients that you are treating. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having.